science, technology, engineering, and math. These 4 content areas make up STEM. And teachers are always on the lookout for interesting ways to teach STEM principles and ideas. But what would happen if we took STEM and made STEAM with the simple addition of art? That's exactly what happened at Colvin Elementary and Mueller Aerospace and Engineering Magnet Elementary, when students worked with artists from arts partners to create robots that can draw.
We've been working on robots, and then we start putting markers in them to start creating designs.
They've been designing little robots to create art, and it's been exciting, and our students have been talking about it, and I know that some of those kids that are reluctant to come to school, they're like, we got to be there because the artists are coming.
The project was called the Three-Legged Stool. And artist Lee Shiny and artist and engineer Tom McGuire worked with students as they studied 3 different STEM concepts.
So we had the 3 concepts of mechanics, of electricity, and then kinetic art. Those were the 3 main concepts of the three-legged stool. And of course the robotic device itself is a metaphor for that because it has basically 3 balancing points with the motor and 2 pins.
The artists kicked off the project at each school by explaining the 3 concepts, paying particular attention to the term kinetic. The goal of the Three-Legged Stool project was to create kinetic art. And while most kinetic art is art that moves, this kinetic art was art created through movement.
It's true that kinetic art often is art that does move, mobiles, things like that people are really familiar with. But I like to take it a step further, and that's where this has been so much fun for both Tom and I think, in that we're able to take a machine and introduce that element of movement through the machine itself.
Students worked with artists to build their art-creating robots, learning about engineering and electricity along the way.
Like, this is the motor, it's like what makes it spin, and then the wheels keep it balanced, and then this is what you turn it on to, and the wires that's making it go to the battery.
We start even with, put the motor and the battery together and watch the thing spin around, and then we show them, what do you think is going to happen when we stick a felt tip pin in here? And it's fun to watch them light up and think, oh, that's going to be cool.
It looks a lot like an old-fashioned spirograph. But it's all original, and the kids made the machines do much different things. They got to experiment to see which direction. If they put the markers one direction, then the machine would do one thing. If they twisted the motor another direction, it would do something else. So they got to do a lot of cause-effect relationship work with the robots.
The students spent time experimenting with their robots, creating a wide variety of designs. And as they watched their robots twirl, they made connections back to the classroom.
I had a couple of students say, Mrs. Dunlap, this is just like when we worked with the compasses and drew the circles, but it's better. So they got to take that geometry knowledge that they already had and kind of observe that in this machine movement. And so they were able to take knowledge to the next level and see how it changes and how motors work in the real world and how those apply to those basic concepts that we're trying to teach them every day.
Once students selected their favorite creation, they prepared for a special exhibition. They named their work and wrote artist statements to be displayed with their artwork. Mr. Shiny and Mr. McGuire showed them examples of artist statements for their own work and encouraged the students to be creative.
From an engineering standpoint, I think the artist statement's very important. They are connecting the process that they're going through with some form of documentation, and it's not rudimentary, fill in the blank kind of question and answer thing. It's a expression of what they've learned or what they like.
You see a wide range of just explaining how I did this to a lot of some little girl, she said, I chose this one because it reminds me of times when you have so much inside of you, your emotions just want to pop. And I thought, wow, how creative.
They learned to reflect on their art, that writing and we work on this all the time. The writing isn't just for writing. Writing has a purpose, that they had to write because it was part of the exhibition. The artists that were here helping us, they have to write too. And so they wrote with the purpose of explaining their artwork and why they made the artwork and what their plans were for the artwork. So they enjoyed writing that, and they knew that it would be displayed, and so it was of high quality.
On the day of their exhibitions, students at both Colvin and Mueller eagerly welcomed their parents, siblings, and fellow students into their classrooms.
I can't even explain how excited they are. They've actually already showed some artwork this morning and to some classes that were coming through, and some of the kids were really into showing the other kids and actually let the other kids touch and work with their robots. And I said, you don't have to share your robots, but a lot of them did. They wanted to show the little kids how the robots worked and let them try. And they're really giving kids. They wanted to share that with others.
Throughout the three-legged stool project, the students enjoyed learning, experimenting, and creating. And by adding art to science, technology, engineering, and math, they took their learning to a new level.
Because it's fun, they really get into it. And I think they're also taking away ideas that anybody can be an artist, anybody can be an engineer, and what this does is sort of level the playing field so that everybody can really excel at this project.
Turning STEM into STEAM has worked out so well, so beautifully. The partnership with Arts Partners and our children and their learning, I'm hoping to make it a tradition every year at this school that fourth grade does this project and then just continue to build bridges with Arts Partners.
And while the students love learning about STEM concepts while creating art, engineer Tom McGuire reminds us that anytime you're working with STEM, the A for art has to be present, even when it's silent.
Anytime you are designing, writing, building, you are creating, and that's the art. You can't leave it out.
The three-legged stool project at both Colvin and Mueller was funded through grants from Spirit Aerosystems and MetLife, as well as through the Arts Partners Care Fund.